And yet another example of why you should ignore the media, or ignore journalists especially, because this is a good example highlighting their ignorance. I'm a big believer that most journalists are not engaging in corruption intentionally. They're just stupid. They don't know anything. So I'm going to be doing a video upcoming that is going to compare Governor Walker, or Scott Walker, and Hillary Clinton on the scale that I use for how to vote for the correct person. Because Scott Walker is an individual who has been recommended by Thomas Sowell, one of his columns, which I'll cover, and George Soros, it looks like he is endorsing Hillary Clinton. So those are two individuals who I highly respect, and I highly respect their recommendations, so I'm going to compare them both. Well, anyway, doing research on both of them, and one of the things that I stumbled across was Governor Scott Walker is going to the United Kingdom, of course, to work on increasing trade and investment. Well, this individual here, we'll call her A, states, what the heck does this have to do with your state? Stop campaigning like Christie, do your job. Now I have to point out, A here is a conservative commentator. Now a really quick hint, if you ever see a liberal commentator or conservative commentator, you can completely ignore what they have to say. In fact, you really shouldn't be watching them or listening to them in general, just because they don't have a clue. This person also went to Harvard Law. This is very embarrassing here, because what the heck does this have to do with your state? Well, actually, if you looked, you would see that the United Kingdom is their 5th largest export partner. You'll also see that their exports increased 24% to the United Kingdom. So over $100 million we're talking about in terms of exports. Okay? Which is kind of interesting when you think about it. So the United Kingdom is a destination that Wisconsin exporters are having success with. Now, why is that a big deal? Same thing with Mexico. Well, if any of you have paid attention again to the numbers, and you're intelligent, unlike OA here, who doesn't seem to have a clue, you'll know that the dollar index has increased about 10% from July of 2014 to December of 2014. That's kind of interesting. So whether you like Scott Walker or not, and I get liberals hate him, conservatives, some conservatives like him. Actually, a lot of conservatives don't like him. This actually is a conservative here. But whether you like him or hate him, doesn't matter. You have to admit, I mean, at least I have to admit, that's like, increasing exports from July to December. What Wisconsin has done is no small task, because exporters are always complaining when the dollar goes up. They're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so hard to export now. Oh my gosh. They just whine and gripe and complain, where it's just part of reality. You have to get used to that. Right? I have friends, by the way, who are in export businesses, and they don't complain. They just, okay, we've got to figure it out, right? So from July to December, you're looking at a 10% increase. If this happened throughout the year, and it's very interesting to go dig through even deeper in the numbers to figure out, did this slow down after July? Same thing with this Mexico here. Did this slow down? Well, that's actually a very good move. For instance, let me give you an example of Texas. If I saw that our exports increased from July to December, or I should say didn't stop from July to December, in other words, they were increasing throughout the year, yeah, I would be very glad when my governor of Texas decides to go over to, the country that it didn't change, to see what's going on over there, so that we can see other opportunities, right? Because what it means is the dollar getting stronger is not deterring exports. That's a huge win. So Wisconsin, and those of you who live in Wisconsin, that's a huge plus. I'm going to tell you what always amazes me about most Americans. They don't have any self-respect. It's like, take some pride in rising to challenges. Don't sit there and expect the Federal Reserve to just weaken the dollar to make it easier for you. That's kind of cheating the whole system. It's engaging in currency wars. So it's really impressive. And upcoming video of Walker versus Clinton, since Soros and Sowell kind of put them as two really good candidates. But it's a good example. You got a Harvard Law graduate who doesn't even know how to do basic math. And you have a conservative commentator, can't stress this enough, journalist, clueless. But it's a good example of what I mean. They're not corrupt, they're not evil, they just are stupid. They don't know anything about math. they wouldn't be able to look at this chart and understand what's going on. They just have no idea. You can ignore these people.